Elaine, you're on mute.
Speaking. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks, Marcus. Thanks for that. We're going to give it another minute or two, and then we'll start the webinar for this afternoon. Okay, let's get it going. My name is Elaine Venter. I'm with GTAC, and it's my absolute privilege to get the meeting going. This afternoon, one of our senior project advisors, Themba, will take us through present. And the topic couldn't actually have been more important than what we're discussing this afternoon. We're looking at, can somebody, just for everybody mute, please? Thank you. Okay, let's go. So we're looking at planning for economic infrastructure for water treatment and reuse, a local government perspective. Themba, the story of the day in the Daily Maverick today is actually called The Crisis, Water Armageddon, loading as day zero looms for Nelson Mandela Bay. And then it says that in less than a month, Nelson Mandela Bay will become the first South African metro to run out of water, to reach day zero. So we really have a crisis looming, and we're absolutely looking forward to find out from you, where are we going with this? We happy to be in your good hands. Just for the attendees, Themba will present for approximately 45 minutes, and then we'll allow at least another 15 minutes for questions. So over to you, Themba.
Thank you very much, Elaine. This is a wonderful day. Good afternoon, colleagues. All protocol is duly observed. For the sake of, focus, may I request that I switch off the camera so that I can be able to navigate through technology and not, confuse myself when I look at myself in the computer, and I will then thereafter, thanks, begin sharing my screen. I'm going to rely on you, Chairperson, to please advise me if my screen is visible.
Okay, thanks, Themba. Yeah, maybe you can just, there we go. It's perfect. It's looking good.
Great stuff. Thank you very much. Without further ado, I'll get on with it. I've got a bit of many slides, but I'll try and be as fast as I can without compromising the message. The topic, the Chairperson has introduced it. It's planning for economic infrastructure for water treatment and reuse, local government perspective. This would be, the framework within which I'll be presenting. Point number one will be the preparatory work. Point number two, needs analysis. Point number three, technical options analysis. Point number four, service delivery options analysis. Point number five, project due diligence. Point number six, value assessment. And I'll end with a bit of a hint on demand risk. Well, the purpose is exactly in line with what the chairperson has just alluded to. I'll just read here that as water infrastructure is classified as economic infrastructure for its ability to generate revenue and thus sustain itself. With it comes a great potential for private investment and blended financing. Using the already established municipal service delivery and PPP guidelines, we reflect on some lessons and experiences in the planning within the 3 tests that are the tests of public-private partnerships of affordability, value for money, and risk transfer. And the purpose really is to give an overview of the project preparation process for water and sanitation infrastructure. We will put our finger on a particular municipality that I have worked with for about the past, say, 5 or 6 years. That is the city of Umhlatuze in Richards Bay on the planning of their wastewater reuse PPP project. Now, getting into the work, as I said, point number 1 is the preparatory work. I'd like you to focus on the writing that is on the mustard yellow there below that says project inception, because there are some inception elements that we have to consider before a project is at development stage.
We can't see the writing. Themba, if you go back, the writing wasn't there.
Okay, let me just go back now. I don't know if you can see my cursor.
Okay, so project inception, that's what you're doing.
Project inception, yes. So at each point, I just put 1 or 2 words just to highlight the gist of what is to follow. What do our guidelines tell us on the preparatory work? Well, in general, the provision of water and sanitation services is a core municipal service. That is important because it guides the process with which the project preparation will have to unfold. And what I want to highlight here, what the guidelines say is that we always need to ascertain whether we are dealing with a municipal service or a municipal support activity. Colleagues that are within the PPP space would understand that these are different, and the process that has to be followed when we conduct the feasibility studies and the entire preparatory work would generally differ here and there. But what I want to highlight is that for a municipal service, we are talking about potable water supply systems, we're talking about domestic sewage treatment and disposal systems. And when we talk about municipal support activities, we're talking industrial or non-potable water, industrial wastewater treatment and disposal of sludge from sewage treatment systems. Those would be regarded as municipal support activities, even though there may be a thin line on the perspective of the municipality to differentiate between whether it is a municipal service or a municipal support activity. Now, the guidelines provide that the beginning is to look at the development and strategic planning of the municipality. And the starting point would be the water services development plan, the IDP, and any other available strategic document that talks to either the national initiatives or provincial initiatives, because planning of infrastructure does not happen in the vacuum. It is very important that that whatever project is in line with, firstly, the national strategy, and it devolves down to the provincial strategy, all the way to the regional strategy. And those become the source documents with which to put together the foundation of developing a project. Now, our case in point, like I have already mentioned, is city of Mdletshe. It's a local municipality. It's a secondary city, second to eThekwini in size and performance in the north coast of KwaZulu-Natal. Project owner, city of Mdletshe. It's on the coast along Richards Bay. The project name is wastewater reuse. Project scope is the construction of a 75 megaliter water treatment plant, and the PPP model is the design, build, finance, operate, and transfer model. Targeted consumers, the project was or is for industrial usage. Estimated capex is around 2.5 billion, and the project duration will be for 23 years. Now, I have a minor caveat or disclaimer. The municipality prefers to keep certain information undisclosed, but I believe that what we have here is sufficient to just keep the message going. So what I'll do is there'll be where I'm focusing on our guidelines. The title will indicate that this is as per the guidelines. And when it comes to the case in point or the case study, if you wish, you will see that that slide will have the municipality's coat of arms on the right, on the top right-hand corner, just to indicate that we are now talking about the project. We are not just talking about the guidelines. Now, what did this municipality consider? There was a water reconciliation study that was conducted, I think, between 2014 and 2015, that was conducted by the Department of Water and Sanitation in KwaZulu-Natal, particularly in the northern region. And then the municipality appointed CSIR to also conduct a status analysis within the municipality in line with this reconciliation study. And then they had to consider the water services development plan, and all that had to find its way into the municipality's own IDP. And that is very important because municipal projects have a public consultation aspect that is very important. So this part included the initial stakeholder consultation. They had to look at their current bylaws and policies, and then there was consultation with us in the Transaction Advisory Services and PPP unit, from which the project was then registered. I'll talk about this quite shortly. What came out when they were doing this strategic overview, which gives rise, or which sort of underpins the mandate of the municipality in conducting a project of this nature, is that the findings were that the municipality confirmed that they are indeed a water services authority from 2004, and that it is the responsibility of the municipality. When you see COU, it's City of Mdletshe, just so I clarify that, because I mean, we are used to so many abbreviations in government. It is the responsibility of the COU to ensure water and sanitation services security within its area of jurisdiction in terms of the availability of water and necessary infrastructure for all users within the municipal area, and that the municipality is responsible for reallocation of water in terms of its demand and availability of water based on that DWS reconciliation study that was conducted in 2014-2015. And in terms of assurance of supply of water, it is important that the municipality prioritizes on catering for water needs within its area of jurisdiction. Just to establish the mandate of the municipality, all these findings had to be made. If you read through, you'll realize that these were pre-existing conditions, but before the project was established, the municipality had to go to each and every source document and collect this information and put it together and create this document or this report, which becomes the confirmation of the mandate. There were issues including, you know, the drought threat that we have seen in the country, and that one of the options that had to be considered was wastewater reuse, because that also was flowing from that DWS reconciliation study. Also, what was important here as an objective was that wastewater reuse should substitute the drinking water usage by industrial users. Well, as a dream or in the long run, the municipality would like to see all industrial users, in fact, all users, refraining from using potable water for things other than, you know, human consumption and other delicate uses of water. You know, like irrigating our gardens, you know, the green facilities like your golf courses, schools, and things like that. Their dream is that such activities do not involve potable water, but clarified water or reuse water is used. Now, as part of Inception, they had to consider the intention of the municipality at a policy level is to ensure the security of supply of water to the industry. This is very important because, you know, along the way, then there will be questions around revenues and profits. And the municipality is adamant that while it is important that the private party or the investors would make their, you know, revenue and profits and stuff like that, but central to this is that the municipality must ensure the security of supply of water to industry. And of course, security of supply to the residents, as the project is intended to meet the municipal objective. Now, these were the pieces of legislation that were considered. Section 77 of the Municipal Systems Act as a trigger for the project. And then there was a council resolution that approved that the municipality could explore wastewater reuse. Project was registered with National Treasury as a possible public-private partnership. That was in May 2015. Project preparation funding was secured from GTAC. That was the time when GTAC, and particularly the TAS and PPP unit, had the project development facility. And there was an allocation that was made to this project for the to assist with you know, the fees for external service providers, the transaction advisors. The project advisor from GTAC was assigned to the project, and that was myself. The accounting officer appointed a project officer who is a project leader and a champion for all intents and purposes within the municipality. The project officer then appointed the project secretariat, and a project steering committee was put together, including members of the municipality from different business units. I was also part, or I am, as the process is still in progress, I am part of that. The provincial treasury is part of that. The Department of Water and Sanitation is part of that. The water board within the region is also part of that. So the project steering committee is a multi-stakeholder committee that meets periodically to consider progress and review outputs on the project. And when that was confirmed, then the transaction advisor was appointed through a formal procurement process. The transaction advisor is a team of advisors that consist of mainly three pillars: the technical pillar, the legal pillar, and the finance pillar. So there was a consortium of 4 companies that was appointed here to undertake the feasibility study. So everything I'll be presenting from now on, please understand, dear colleagues, that it is the work that would be put together by the transaction advisor. And
Themba, I just want to ask people that's not on mute, please mute yourself. You're hearing that?
Thank you, Chair. Moving right along, now that we had a team of experts that were appointed, the Transaction Advisory Consortium was appointed, we hit the ground running, beginning with needs analysis. This is now part of the feasibility study. And again, if I may just move my cursor around, if you see what that writing on that mustard yellow writing, I put existing and future requirements, because I want you to please focus on these words as we delve into this section of the presentation. What do guidelines say about needs analysis? The purpose is to determine whether the proposed PPP for private sector provision of water services is in the best interest of the municipality from a financial, legal, and socio-economic perspective. These are the elements of a feasibility study. Focusing on needs analysis, what is important is to establish the municipality's strategic objectives, to review the integrated development plan, to review the water services development plan, to review the asset management plan, to check the budget, and to check the capacity and resources to procure and manage the project. If we move along and get into this municipality, now I have this map that I would like us to focus on, but not so much on everything else. The message on this map as a starting point in putting together the needs analysis was that the municipality had to review all the available water sources, not only within the municipality, but within the region. In other words, all the water sources that the municipality has access to. Now, if you check on my cursor there, it is surrounding a dam. There is a dam which is about, I think, 50 or 60 kilometers away from the municipality. It's called the Goedetro Dam. This is one of the main suppliers or the main sources of water for the municipality. And if you move along to the coast, if you check where my cursor is moving, there is a lake there. There are about 4 lakes that are along the coast there, because the area is, made up of, some, or, geographically, there's.
Hey, Papa. I'm good. How are you?
Sorry, can whoever's on Boitumelo Kirby, I think it's you. You are, thank you.
I'm sorry.
Can you please just mute? Thank you.
So thank you, Chairperson. So okay, I just lost my cursor there just for a moment. There is a lake there, Lake Tubu. There is another lake. There are 4 lakes. So this is the dam plus 4 lakes. These are the main suppliers of water. I'm just outlining how the planning process was going about. Maybe I just need to mention this at this point in time, that how projects of this nature unfold. Imagine an onion. You begin peeling off the layers from the top layer until you reach the center. Now, this is some of the information that came about from that reconciliation study that was done by the Department of Water and Sanitation and gazetted back in 2015. They were concerned about, just calculating the capacity, the water capacity for the region to understand and profile water usage per industry. And if you check there, you can just see that industry accounts for about 5.74 cubic meters of water. The commercial / domestic is a lesser number. And then within that, the municipality also accounts for a certain portion. There is the water board, there are mines, there is water that is required for irrigation, and water that is required for storage. So that was just the background information on the water needs in the area, in the region. If you pardon me, okay. Now, and then they had to do some water balance. What was discovered here is that the status quo is that the municipality, from its wastewater treatment facilities, produces 160 megaliters of water. And this is gray water. This is effluent we are talking about, because we are focusing on wastewater. So all the wastewater treatment facilities in the municipality, the capacity of the water that they supply, the capacity of the effluent that comes from there is 160 megaliters. And then, if you, I beg your pardon there, this is the capacity of the inflows, not necessarily the supply. The inflows into the treatment facilities. And in terms of the existing and planned growth and activities of the municipality, the calculation was that they need about 280 megaliters of water. Then what that meant was that the municipality has a shortfall of 119 megaliters of water that it has to source. I'll explain just in brief. The following material deals with a development, a major development within the municipality. called the Waterstone development. This is a residential development. I'm just highlighting this because there is a context. The context is that after considering the demand that will be required when this development has been implemented, the shortfall was swollen up to a shortfall of 143.8 megaliters a day. Now, at that point in time, the municipality had to pause and say, we have a water shortfall of just less than half of the available capacity. If the available capacity of water is 160 megaliters, but we need 304 megaliters, then we are in trouble. That was the point to ponder by the municipality. Hence, if you check on the bolded statement there, they really were leaning towards the potential reuse of water, which was regarded as a big, possibility to alleviate the shortfall, while other means with which to secure the balance were being looked into. Because remember, this project is an intervention amongst others. So while they're looking at other means with which to secure additional water, they then regarded that, hang on a minute, we need reuse. Other interventions that were considered by the DWS, these were just some suggestions that DWS was suggesting in order to supplement the shortfall of the water. And then that kind of strengthened the potential reuse, and indicatively they put their finger on a capacity of 75 megaliters a day, and put that within a 5 years implementation program. So that was the foundational aspects of determining the needs analysis. And if I just go back just a little bit, the needs analysis ends on the punchline that we need a 75 megaliters a day facility, and in 5 years' time, that must be implemented. That was the conclusion of the needs analysis. Now we're moving along to technical options analysis. And let me just locate my cursor. If you check, my cursor is surrounding the words in mustard yellow. I put size and complexity because I'd want us to, have those words at the back of our minds as we go along with this point number 3 of technical options analysis. What do the guidelines say here on technical options analysis? In terms of PPP guidelines, technical solutions options analysis are based on the capital investment needs, on current systems, on human resources, on support facilities, and legislation and regulations. If we move along, this is what we find, where the municipality was now drilling down and assessing every possible source from which they could get effluent that could be processed or that could be converted for reuse. Now, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wastewater treatment facilities. And if you check on the right-hand side, you can see the capacity of the facilities. And at the end, there is a company called Company X, and it is named Company X because the municipality is not does not wish to share the name of the company for risk purposes. I mean, these are the things that happen in project planning because a lot of things, they become too sensitive because discussions are happening in the boardrooms and stuff like that. But this company is producing 45 megaliters of effluent. And when you look at the totality of this effluent, then we can confirm that there will be sufficient effluent that will go into this treatment plant that will be responsible for supplying clarified water for industrial usage. And then after determining that, the municipality had to also look at the possible users now. And this is very important from a demand management point of view. They started approaching companies. I think there were about 15 or 20 companies that they wrote to. There were meetings, countless meetings that the municipality hosted, checking with the companies in terms of their water demand, in terms of their water needs, because that would strengthen the commercial aspect of the project when there are already pre-identified off-takers. At the end of the day, after a lot of deliberations and analysis, they came down to 5 companies that required water. And obviously, there was a lot of criteria that was considered. They were considering them in terms of the volume of the water requirements, as well as the quality of the clarified water. And this is very important, colleagues. And to me, it was a learning curve to understand that different production lines require water at different quality levels. Some of the companies came back, they wanted large quantities of water, but the quality of water that they wanted was, through the roof. It could not be, afforded within the business model that the municipality was looking at. And they had to politely decline and say, look, we thank you very much, but we don't think we can reach that level of quality. I mean, I'm talking about companies such as those that produce paper, because they need water has to be at a certain quality in order to be able to clean the paper and make it to be, crystal white or, to that whatever required quality. So
yeah, for 10 minutes.
Okay, let me try. 6 options were considered, and these options were considered based on the engineering ranking. Those are, sub-criteria under engineering. But engineering ranking was marked at 50%. There was environmental ranking, and those are the sub-criteria. Public and social ranking, things like odor impact, noise impact, visual impact, proximity to people, job creation, public perception, etc. That was given 20%. And at the end of the day, there were 4 options. I'm not going to talk to them now. I'm going to talk to option number 4. If you check there, there's option number 4. The outcome of the technical options analysis was that a regional site or a regional wastewater treatment plant, which scored about 74% in terms of that ranking criteria, was number 1. On service delivery options, this is about whether it will be an internal or an external service delivery mechanism. And the guidelines in terms of the Municipal Systems Act, Section 78, give examples of what is considered to be an internal mechanism and what is considered to be an external mechanism. I'm not going to dwell much on this because it still talks to what the guidelines are saying. But all I'm going to highlight here is that there was a confirmation in the study that the municipality was unable to undertake an internal mechanism. In other words, the municipality was unable to implement this project on its own. So there was a clear evidence that was supported by information and data that the municipality needed to consider an external mechanism, being the public-private partnership framework. Project due diligence. If you check on the what is in mustard yellow there, the question is it legally sound? What does this mean in terms of the guidelines? It's the examination of issues in terms of the preferred technical solution and service delivery options. We're looking at legal issues, use of municipal property by another entity, site enablement issues, BEE, local economic development. But underpinning all these is a statement that we need to identify and mitigate any fatal flaws in the planning process. What was discovered here was that indeed the municipality was competent to undertake the project as a PPP, and that the performance of the municipal function by a third party was within the law, and then the criteria as set out by legislation on Section 78 of the Municipal Systems Act was also confirmed. Accompanying this was a review of all the existing contracts regarding the supply of water that was affecting either these wastewater treatment facilities that were going to supply effluent into this new regional plant, or the external factors such as the water board, which was also one of the suppliers. So all the contracts were reviewed. Moving right along to value assessment. Here we are talking about affordability, value for money, and risk transfer. The guidelines, I can only say this is a pivotal stage. This is where the questions of value for money, risk transfer, and affordability are answered. Now, the municipality had to match whatever they were doing in terms of those requirements of the guidelines. I want to move a bit quicker and say, what was the findings or the outcomes of the value assessment? Was that the project would be a concession of 23 years, 3 of which will be the construction period, and then 20 of which will be the operations period, obviously taking into account life cycle costs for mechanical, electrical components and periodic intervals, and also operations and maintenance costs based on the general O&M, labor, energy, and chemicals. What I want to highlight here, the project gearing or the project structuring was confirmed at 80-20 on the debt equity ratio. So the debt would be 80% and equity would be 20%. The targeted equity return of 50% and the targeted debt service cover ratio of 1.2. What is important again here on the share of the debt was that 60% of the debt would be from senior commercial debt, which is, I would say, from commercial banks, and 40% was earmarked for DFI debt category. Your DBSA and all other DFIs that you can think of would be allocated 40% of the debt, and then the rest of the debt would go to commercial banks. The maturity period of the debt, of the commercial debt, would come first at 10 years, and then the DFI debt will mature later at 15 years. I'm not going to talk much on the other stuff. The project cost, capex, was confirmed at about 2.4 billion, and when moved along to 2020, because the numbers were 2018 numbers. So when taking the same numbers and mapping them across to 2020, the capex, the estimated capex was 2.9. So at this stage, we are talking about 2.9, but I can tell you, because we have been having issues with the procurement and it has not closed, so we are looking at a somewhat of a drastic swelling up on the cost here. I put my finger at, between 3.2 and 3.5 billion because of the time value of money. I'm not going to talk much on these, but these were just the cost components that were considered. I mean, demolition costs, the EIA land cost, those were some of the costs that were capitalized into this.
And then 2 minutes. You have
2 minutes. Okay. I think I can make it. Here I wanted to highlight demand risk. This is very important because it talks to the overall risk profile, market appetite and bankability of the project. What we have here, if you check on the left-hand side, I put a title there, off-taker model or take or pay model. An off-taker model is where off-takers are identified beforehand, such that when the private party comes on board, the private party will be handed a list of these off-takers. The private party will be expected to sign a deal, with an off-take agreement with the off-takers, and the demand risk is managed between the private party and the off-takers. This is the model versus what is on the right-hand side, which is a take or pay model, which means that the municipality will have to be the main off-taker through a take or pay agreement, which is part of the PPP agreement. But what that means is that the municipality will retain the majority of the demand risk to off-takers. And this was very important in deciding whether we go on an off-taker model or a take or pay model. The feasibility study was concluded on an off-taker model, but as the work is still happening, there could be an issue with commitments with the off-takers because they were mostly reluctant to commit. They're not used to these commitments. I mean, these are private companies that are not, too keen on signing and binding themselves on, long-term covenants and stuff like that. But hopefully, that will not change the status of the project. I'm not going to talk much on the tariff issue because it's too long. This ultimately is how the project looks in terms of the generic PPP structure. The project structure is that the municipality would be the main project sponsor to sign the PPP agreement with the special purpose vehicle here. The SPV will have its own subcontractors for construction and operations. On the right-hand side, you have lenders, which are commercial banks. I've already said commercial banks will take 60% of the debt, and then there's DFIs, which will take 40% of the debt. There's also institutional investors that might be considered. And on the left-hand side, you have shareholders. And in terms of the gearing of the project, that 80-20 ratio, shareholding will be 20% of the project, and then 80% will go to lenders. And we have National Treasury there and Department of Water Affairs as, the supporters of the project. And then there is an arrow that points to off-takers there, where off-takers will have a relationship with the special purpose vehicle so that the municipality does not have to stress about the volumes and demand risk with the off-takers. I think this was my last slide. I'm afraid I had a lot of information. Sometimes I can't cut things abruptly because it sort of loses the message in the picture. But Chairperson, I'd say my presentation has come to an end. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Themba. This was absolutely fascinating. And I'm going to, you can see the appreciation from the attendees. Let me, open the floor for some questions. We've got about 10-15 minutes for questions before we close the session. I'm just giving people an opportunity to raise hands, and let me just put this so they can see. Let me maybe jump in with a question. So it would seem that in this municipality, they sort of are thinking into the future. And this is not one of the major big municipalities of the country. But then at the same time, we have a Cape Town and now Nelson Mandela Bay, who's 20 days away from day zero. Why is it, I mean, is this municipality the norm or the exception? Or is Nelson Mandela and Cape Town and municipalities like that the norm or the exception? How does it happen that you reach a day zero? As opposed to, I mean, maybe you can help us a little bit. What do you think what has happened in Nelson Mandela? Why are they saying they're 20 days from day zero? Why did it happen in Cape Town?
Thanks, Chairperson. Look, my take would be that, particularly with Nelson Mandela, they may have been reactionary in attitude, because these things, what I learned in this project that I was just presenting is that there is a lot of work that goes into predicting and looking at the climate and looking at the economic growth and stuff like that. I cannot think of any other thing rather than lack of foresight. And I want to exclude Cape Town on this because Cape Town has come guns blazing in terms of its planning. I am currently, assisting, Tumi and I are working on their major desalination plant. And they have even, I'll call them makeshift water treatment plants that are not of a permanent nature because they're trying so hard to, circumvent the worst. So I think Cape Town is not so much in the red. They're really on a marathon to try and correct this. I'm not too sure about Nelson Mandela. It's a pity whatever they're going through, but I hope they get out of it.
Yes, and I note your hand, Leila, because what I learned from what you presented now, this is a very long process. I mean, just from beginning to end, it takes absolutely years to get your water shortages sort of covered or protected. Right, so let's go to Leila Horton.
Thank you. Just a question on the commercials. So the financial model, did it produce a number in terms of rand per whatever liter or cubic meter that is lower than the current purchase for water, or was it significantly higher? Because I see this as a potential problem for the replication of projects like this across the country, is that our water tariff is on the low side and wastewater reuse, it's high tech and all that, it will always be on the expensive side. So it's hard to convince the industries to purchase it. Thank you.
What a great
question. Yeah, thank you. In this particular project, the municipality concluded with a shortfall. There is a capital shortfall of about 400 million rand. And that shortfall is directly attributable to that because they had to adjust their tariffs downward because the industry, these off-takers, remember when I said there was a long discussion with off-takers. Part of the discussions was on the well, there was volumes and quality on the other side, but central was also tariffs, and the municipality had to adjust downward, but on the proviso that if the municipality can secure that 400 million rand, then the project will be absolutely bankable. So at this point in time, we are having discussions with the infrastructure fund, which is quite keen on funding this shortfall. But because we're working with the procurement staff on the other hand, and the infrastructure fund is not readily keen to jump in because they say, I mean, you know, our famous word, it's not shovel ready because it's not out in the market. The moment it's out there and there's interactions with the market, they'll then have that certainty and confidence. And then I think they'll jump in and give us the 400 million and then we close.
Let me also jump in with one more question, Themba, also about money. You
Yes.
indicated that this project is going to overrun in or its budget is going to go from about 2.4 billion to, I think you said 3.2 billion. That's
Yes.
because of the, is there a ceiling? I mean, I'm thinking of like Kusile and, you know, it can actually just exponentially keep on growing. So is there a ceiling? Does the municipality put a ceiling on how far the budget of the project can go?
No, Elaine, the municipality does not put a ceiling. The good thing, and this is why the PPP is always prepared by an independent team that we call a transaction advisor. Remember, there is a whole lot of background behind transaction advisors. There's issues of professional indemnity. There's issues of, I mean, when you have a transaction advisor, whatever cost that you get, you must have, you know, almost 100% certainty that it will be around that number. So if the transaction advisor comes with that number, the likelihood that it will be a ridiculous number or an unjustified number, it will be like suicide on them. Because remember, they also, it's like they're putting their head on the block. That's the nature of being a transaction advisor. I mean, they could end in serious damage if they were to, you know, slack on the professional judgment. I mean, Leila, in her other life, is a transaction advisor. She knows very much how important this is when it comes to these sureties that the transaction advisor teams must provide to undertake before they even start the work.
Okay, let's see. Do we have any other questions before we close the meeting? Themba, I don't. Oh yes, okay. Ensign Makwendwende.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Themba, for the interesting presentation. I'm new in this development finance issues. Actually, yeah, I had my qualifications recently from Stellenbosch University. So I'm trying to apply it at the Department of Local Government. We've got some programs that we are running to try and finance infrastructure for municipalities. And I found this one very interesting. So I was wondering if we could get the presentation so that maybe we can assist us when we try to do our projects this side.
Okay, so here's a little bit of free publicity and airtime for GTAC. Ensign, we are uploading this, all the information, the recording, as well as the PowerPoint to the GTAC Knowledge Hub. So if you go to our website, to the GTAC website, and Cassim can just put it in the chat, you will find on our Knowledge Hub both the recording as well as all documents relevant to the matter. And we are very happy if you can use it.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Of course, you can also contact Themba at any given time if you want more clarity. I'm sure Themba would be very happy to clarify, engage further on the matter with you.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you, and even for the guidance.
Very welcome. Any other questions? Themba, then I think we're going to close the session. As I said when we started, it could not have come at a more relevant and critical time. And thank you for the good work you guys are doing in this field. We appreciate it. And thank you everybody who came to join us in this discussion. We also appreciate it. Next week, please join us again. Have a great afternoon and a good weekend further. Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you, bye. Thank you.